don't.
You don't always
Don't.
get what you want.
Can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. Welcome, everybody. We got a special Tuesday. It's a Taco Tuesday morning stream, you guys.
Without the tacos, but Taco Tuesday nonetheless.
And a lot of turning 65 talk. And we have a limited amount of time, so I don't want to take any time away from Christian or this conversation by getting into the NBA, the All-Star game, or any other topic that we could spend 30 minutes talking about. So let's just get right into the turning 65 opportunity. Christian, what do you think is the most misunderstood part of the turning 65 market for agents today? What do you think the average agent is not seeing or not understanding about the turning 65 market? Because it seems like there is a lot of information flying around, and inevitably some of it's not correct, not true.
I think that's a great but also loaded question, right? Because we could spend the next 45 minutes talking about the answer to just that one question. But if I had to think of my top one, I would probably say that it's a secondary priority versus other times of the year, right? So some agents look at the T65 business that they're chasing, that they should only go after it in the off season, right? Outside of OEP and outside of AEP, when in reality, it's a year-round selling opportunity. And the more you spend all year pursuing that business, the more your pipeline is full all year round with T65 members. It's not something that is going to work as well as it could if you are chasing them for a month or two. Like it works the best when you're filling a pipeline over an entire year. That would be my number one.
100%. I do think there's also one thing that came to mind as you were talking there. When I'm seeing the notes, whether it's from our agents or from lead clients, what of the feedback that they're getting from the leads that they're talking to, there are some people who will say, hey, I already spoke to an agent, or I think I already have a plan in place, and the agent will immediately say, okay, and they're done. They hang up. They don't want to talk to that lead anymore. Guys, there are so many captive agents out there who are offering horrible policies to these seniors. Yep. I'm not going to mention any specific carriers, but again, as an agent myself, whenever that came up, whenever someone told me they had a policy, I was dying to know what I had to find out what it was, whether that was life or health. I wanted to know what is it? What do you have? What are you paying? So I always think it's kind of disappointing when I hear that feedback, like, oh, they said they were already being helped. So I immediately hung up, and it's like,
yeah.
Okay, I mean, what do they have? What are they going to sign up with?
Early in my career, I almost exclusively worked turning 65 business, but I was doing it in a much different way. I was cold calling. You agents out there, you're spoiled. You're spoiled a little bit. You know what I mean? But I was cold calling. So anything you're dealing with now, 100 exit is what I was dealing with, right? But when I was cold calling and I would get somebody on the phone, there was a couple of common objections that would come up, and that was a regular one. That was like, that was an old classic. It was old reliable. I already picked a plan.
Classic.
It's an old classic.
Yeah.
It was Paradise City, and and so being first off willing, because again, you just hit it right on the head. So many agents just give up. The call's over at that point. They're like, oh, goodbye. They don't even say goodbye. They just hang up. And being willing to ask those questions, to try to probe a little bit and find out what they have. I couldn't tell you how many sales I made as an agent in those years where I was only working turning 65 cold calling situations. Not recommending it, by the way, guys. I've had people be like, well, it worked for Christian, it should work for me. No, don't do it. I wouldn't do it again if I had to do it all over again. But my point in saying that is there's countless deals I can think of off the top of my head where I was able to get it even though they picked something, because I probed a little bit, found out what they had was inferior, and I could beat it. And that's the game.
100%. Yeah. And that's on the life side, that happened all the time too. Oh, I just signed up for, XYZ policy. Oh, well, let me see. Oh, it looks like that premium is double what I could, you could get the same coverage, the same benefits, but the premium would be half of what you're currently paying. Do you want to learn more about this? Like, can I take 5 minutes and get into this and we can talk about why that's even possible? So, that's one thing that I think is a big misconception. Another misconception that I think some people have is that they absolutely have to sign up for Medicare on their 65th birthday, which is not true, right? They could potentially stay on group coverage till they're 70, 72. It totally just depends on the individual and their situation.
It's funny. I hear agents all the time, and I know what they mean, but like agents all the time, when they're talking about turning 65 business, they're like, well, everyone has to take Medicare at 65. Like, I hear that probably every single day in the group somewhere or another, and I just get tired of correcting people. So I hope you guys will help me and do it for me sometimes. And you guys do a great job at it, by the way. I love you guys in the Facebook group. but no, it's true. It's true, right? Like, not everybody has to take Medicare at 65. People, if they're working and have active work coverage through an employer, credible coverage employer, are able to postpone their Medicare penalty free. And I feel like there are some real important questions you need to ask as an agent when you're working T65 business that it's probably very unique. Like, for one, you want to ask, are you working? Number two, if you are working, do you have coverage through your work? Or if you're not working, is your spouse working? Are you covered under your spouse's plan? If all of those ends up being yes, it comes down to a question of, how much do you pay for this plan every month? Is that just for you? Is that for you and your spouse? Do you have any children on it? Like, how much is this costing? How good is the plan? Is it, and group plans, by the way, guys, are a spectrum of coverage. Like, they could go anywhere from unbelievable, where like, you're like, God damn, how did you get that? To, this is dog shit, this plan,
Yeah.
and everything else in between. And so, like, that's another thing agents commonly do, is if they find out the person's working and they're on a group plan, they ask no follow-up questions. Like, oh, we'll just take part A and goodbye. And
yep.
You need to ask questions. There's been countless situations where I've gotten someone to let me, as an agent, compare their group plan with what I could offer on Medicare. And it turns out, like, their group plan is bad. It's like $1,100 a month for two people, or $800 a month for two people. And they have a $7,000 deductible, you know what I mean? And they're going to have to give up their left pinky to get a doctor's visit covered. They're going to have to literally walk in. The doctor will get a kitchen knife. Pinky? And which one would you like to give up today, Mr. Johnson?
And so Christian is in the process of helping my parents get a Medicare plan, and I believe Medicare coverage is, I don't know if you got into their current coverage, but I believe Medicare is going to be significantly better than what they are currently on through their group plan. Or am I totally wrong?
They actually have a pretty good group plan. They do.
Okay, just kidding.
So, like, when we were going through it, without getting too much into their private details, of course, but when we were going through
Can you tell my father's social security number on air, please?
But we're going through it a little bit, and like, it seemed like their group plan had pretty good coverage, and it seemed like cost-wise, Medicare is probably going to cost them a little bit more. So that's also a tricky thing too, is because sometimes it's hard for people to wrap their minds a little bit around Medicare if they're used to paying, like, and I'm not saying this is what they're paying specifically. I don't remember 100%, but like, I saw a couple one time that was paying $105 a month for two people and had like a $1,500 deductible for the family. And I'm like, and then, they're
don't
still
stop
working.
Don't stop working.
I'm like, and the guy was like, are you sure I don't need to take Medicare? I'm like, sir, at the time, like, I can't remember what part B was at the time, but like, I'm like, your part B was like $125 a month or whatever it was at the time, just for you. Your wife is another 125.
Right.
I'm like, this makes 0.0 sense for you to get off of it if you're planning to keep working. He's like, all right, sounds good. Yeah, son of a bitch, government, you thought they'd have a Medicare for me and find out my current crappy plan is better. He thought his plan was bad. And I'm like, bro, your plan is not bad. Your plan is good.
But see, even in the situation like my parents, you guys, where if their group coverage is better than potentially what they're able to get through Medicare, my dad's done working. He
Yeah.
can't continue to stay on that plan, even if it is a great
Yeah.
plan. So, we kind of talked about some of like the misinformation, some of the hurdles or objections that agents get into. I want to talk about kind of the upside, the positive side of the turning 65 market now. Like, what do you feel like is one of the number one benefits of the turning 65 market from an agency owner or an agent's perspective, where you'd be crazy to not at least have some. I'm not saying that you have to be solely focused on the turning 65 market. Some people don't really like the turning 65 market. They have other markets they pursue, and that's totally fine. But I think I can make a strong argument that there should almost always be at least some activity pursuing that turning 65 market. So what would you say if you could pick your number one benefit of pursuing someone who's turning 65? What would you say that is?
Yeah, I think the number one benefit for the agent, I think there's two that's a tie, because I really have a hard time distinguishing between the two. Number
Okay.
one, if you get them at 65, the chance of you keeping them longer, if you do a good job for them, is much higher.
Right.
Because think about it, right? Like if somebody is 68 and they've changed agents 2 or 3 times and you're number 3, the likelihood of that customer's characteristics is they're a bouncer. And I don't mean a bouncer that throws you out of the club. They're a bouncer from agent to agent to agent to agent, And a turning 65 member, a lot of times, if you do a good job for them, you help them the first time around, and you're going to be there for them, they are going to be with you for a lot longer on average, right? Statistically speaking, they're going to stick with you longer. So retention rates, I think, are super, super strong with T65 members. Number two, and this might be the obvious one, the obvious elephant in the room of sorts. Your commission's higher, guys. Sweet old true ups, baby, on this Medicare Advantage business. I mean, who doesn't like a true up,
Right.
And so
Right.
to me, those would be the top two. I mean, there's certainly
Those
others.
are great. Well, I think there is a lot. So, and the funny part is you didn't pick what I would say my number one is. So again, guys, coming from the Medicare supplement side of the business, one of the biggest hurdles that agents have is underwriting. Getting someone health qualified. So what I've always been, what really attracted me to the turning 65 market is that there is no health underwriting, that it's all guaranteed issue. They can sign up for whatever plan they want. It doesn't matter. And they doesn't matter how sick they are. They could be on dialysis. It doesn't matter. It's guaranteed issue for them to get onto that plan. No health underwriting. So that's one of my favorite parts. But the 3 huge things: higher retention. You're going to keep them for longer, which means potentially more renewals. That first year commission, if it is a Medicare Advantage plan, you're getting paid more, and there's no health underwriting. Another one that I would throw in here too, and maybe you have another you want to add, but another one I would throw in is if you are an agent that's involved on the financial side of the business, maybe you're writing annuities, maybe you refer those types of situations out to someone else. Again, retirement. They might have a 401k they're trying to figure out what to do with. They might have other funds that they need to, strategize from a retirement or tax perspective. So if you're in that part of the business, the turning 65 market is ripe for opportunities with financial products.
Absolutely. 100%. And, I mean, we could go on and on and on. I think about the upside, whether it be, true ups, whether it be, open enrollment, health questions waived. All of those things are super, super, very lucrative when it comes to the turning 65 market. There's a lot of agents that I know that just they work the turning 65 market all year round. They basically don't even do AEP from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, I know
Um,
those people too, those
and
agencies.
if you're doing the turning 65 marketing and the lead flow and the pipeline game with it correctly, then you really don't have any type of a need to do anything else, right? Like it's a year-round thing. Every month there's people from 3, 4, 5 months out that are ready to go. I mean, obviously can't write people 5 months out, but like there's people that are 3 months out, 2 months out potentially that are ready to go, and it's the gift that keeps on giving, right? Like we built our book of business internally really on the back of turning 65. It wasn't until later on that we started doing, SEP marketing, OEP marketing, because OEP wasn't a thing until a handful of years ago, but
Right.
Medicare supplement replacements, like we started to kind of work those kind of other things in to what we were doing. But for a lot of years at the beginning, it was almost exclusively T65. And so, the T65 market is very unique. It's not like anything else. And I think it's definitely the most lucrative. That's why also you have a lot of people also going for it. But if you can carve out an area in it where you can really, have some consistent and, um, predictable lead flow, you're going to do very well.
100%. And again, Christian touched on this earlier when we were talking, you guys, but it really is a pipeline game. The agents who think that they can one call close these people, they're going to struggle
Yep.
because the idea that you could get someone on the phone and they have parts A and B and they're just sitting there they're like looking at the different plan options and their phone rings and it's you and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you, thank you. I just, I'm
I,
3 months out, like it just doesn't like
I picture
that's
this.
not
I picture this I picture this lady sitting at her kitchen table, and
yeah.
there's Medicare mail all over it, like it's
Just
just like
stacked,
covered,
just a
and she's sitting
mountain.
there like this. She's like, it's like a
I'm gonna
commercial.
go.
It's like a
I'm gonna go
commercial.
to after we get off. I'm gonna go to Chat GPT, and I'm going to try to recreate what you just. I'm gonna have AI make that, and then I'm gonna post that in the group. So, like, and again, every now and then that does every now and then this magical scenario that we just talked about happens. The phone rings. She's got parts A and B. She's got her checkbook out. She's trying to sign up. You're just this angel that came through the phone. Hello, Mrs. Jones. But most of the time it's not that at all.
Yeah.
Most of the time it is very much so a longer game.
Yes.
It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 points of contact where, hey, okay, let me call you next week. Okay, let's get you signed up for part B. Okay, well, let's talk about your plan options. Okay, this is what you want. Okay, next week we'll actually get you signed up. And so, that's something as a new agent, I would say, hey, make sure you understand that, because if you are trying to get like some really quick commissions going, T65 might not be the best market for you. The dual market, or maybe chasing some SEPs, etc., where you can literally get someone on the phone and roll them right away. If you are looking for like some quick commissions, some quick turnarounds, the T65 market can be extremely lucrative, but there is a little bit of a lag there, a little bit of a time window that you have to kind of compensate for.
Yep. 100%. 100%. It's one of those things where, I mean, there's so many I characteristic. I like to create the picture of it, I guess, is that there's more things that are out of your control that can come up than any other type of prospect you can write. So you have to be able to work with them on it. Like, there's a guy that in my early years, we went out on, and without going too deep into the details, we went out on, I think, 3 appointments on this guy. By the second appointment, he got confused and sent his Medicare card back because he thought he was signing up for Medicare Advantage, and he wouldn't need his Medicare card anymore because it was replacing his Medicare. So he sent his Medicare card back,
God.
and then he had to go back, reapply for it again, try to get it back, and like those types of things happen.
Yeah.
Like there's people like that aren't enrolled yet. Even if you help them enroll, it's a 2 to 3 week turnaround time, if not longer, before their A and B is even active. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of things that are completely out of your control. But if you are willing to play the follow-up game, like what I always did as an agent is I would have every week a list of people that I needed to follow up with from 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks prior. I was actually a sicko because there were people I'd follow up with like a year or two later because they were still working. They'll be like, I'm working. I'm like, can I call you in like a year and see if you're still working? They're like, yeah. And I would call them and they'll be like, hello, who is this? And I'd be like, remember we talked like 2 years ago? They're like, no way, bro, I don't remember at all. And we talk and I'd be able to get them later, like I remember I'd tell people like, hey, I just got a deal I've been working on for 3 years. And people are like, excuse me? But I'm not saying you have to be that extreme, but the follow-up game with T65 is the name of the game, and it's what's going to allow you to write a lot of these in a large clip.
Absolutely. And again, Christian, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have a very busy schedule. We have a lot of stuff going on here at our $1 million insurance conglomerate that we're running. But any final
the eight-figure company, that we're running.
Yeah, we really have to change the group. Maybe we wait till next year. I don't know. Maybe next year it becomes 8-figure Medicare agent. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But any final thoughts around the turning 65 market that you want to share? Or anything you feel like we didn't quite get to in this stream today?
I would say just understand that the opportunity is as real as it's ever been for T65. Like if you look at the numbers of how many people will be turning 65 over the next 5 years, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I know they're absolutely mind-boggling. They've always said turn 10,000 a day. I think it's more like 11,000 a day at this point.
Yep.
So there's tons of business everywhere you look when it comes to T65. And I think play the game with the mentality that, you're always riding people and catching up from last month or 2 months ago. So if you're consistently doing it, you're always having cases that you're working on that mature from 1 month ago, 2 months ago, that now have their Medicare card, they're finally ready to go, that kind of thing. And so as we've talked about on this, it's a different kind of game, but if you're willing to play the pipeline game, super, super lucrative.
I love that. Guys, if you have any other questions about the turning 65 market, please don't hesitate to drop a comment below this video. We would love to answer them, whether you're watching live right now or you're watching the replay. My final thoughts, you guys, right now at Lead Heroes, we have a promotion going on these turning 65 leads where our team is actually reaching out to folks who are going to be turning 65 in about 2 to 5 months. So we're trying to hit that perfect window of people who are going to be looking at signing up on Medicare. We are trying to eliminate folks who are staying on group coverage. So we're trying to just give you the people who really are going to be enrolling in Medicare. And again, this is going to really help shorten the amount of effort in your prospecting. So you're not having to go out and cold call like Christian used to do, like he mentioned earlier in this video. It is a minimum order of 20 leads at $30 per lead. That is a $300 savings over what we normally charge for these leads. Please, please, please take advantage of this. There's just over a week left before it's going to go back to $45 per lead. So I will have that link also in the comments below this video. Leadheroes.com. You will see our Turning 65 lead promotion going on. It is our annual Lead Heroes Loves You sale. Guys, we're in love with you. We're in love with you guys. We want to help you as much as we can. We want you guys to make
the ugliest heart you've ever seen.
I love look at that. This is thumbnail quality.
Yours is great. Mine, on the other hand, I don't know what's going on here.
I'm like a high school girl right now. Look at that. That's incredible. That heart is so
you
good.
Got the skills.
Guys, again, any questions, comments, concerns, as always, drop a comment below the video. Until next time, happy selling and sell insurance policies in large volume, large quantities.
And eat tacos. Thanks, guys.
And eat tacos.